الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, my dear and respected brothers and sisters in Islam, all praise and glory is due to Allah Azza. We praise Him, we glorify Him, we seek His aid and we seek refuge with Allah Azza from the evil inclinations of our own souls and from the evil inclinations of our own actions. Whomsoever Allah Azza guides, none can ever misguide. And on the contrary, whomsoever Allah Azza misguides, none can ever guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity except for Allah Azza alone, Al-Wahid, Al-Ahad, Al-Awwal, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His final servant and beloved messenger. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار واليعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم أما بعد. My brothers and sisters in Islam, you know, Allah Azza wa Jal, He has created every soul, every single soul, whether it be Muslim, non-Muslim, it doesn't matter. Every human soul that has been created with a eternal, deep, intrinsic link back to Him. ثُمَّ سَوَّاهُ وَنَفَخَ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِهِ. Allah Azza wa Jal, He states He has shaped the human form and He has breathed within that human form His spirit. Therefore, each human soul has this intrinsic link back to Allah Azza wa Jal. Whether they consciously realize it or not, that link is always there. This extreme, this deep, profound need for a divine connection in our lives, it is there by default. By the fact that we have been created by Allah Azza wa Jal, it is there. So if you were to go around and ask any Muslim, find any Muslim around the world, it doesn't matter whom, as long as they are conscious of the fact that they are Muslim, ask them, do you love Allah? They will unanimously, without a doubt, they will say, I love Allah, I love Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The love of Allah is in my heart. It's in my bones. It's in my soul. And you know, this deep love that every soul has, that acknowledge Allah Azza wa Jal, this love, every Muslim that they have, this is an integral and necessary part of the human existence. Even those that are kafir, the kafirin, they have the same divine need, but they just don't know it. They have not cultivated it because they have not accepted Islam. They have not understood. They have rejected the truth. They have not accepted the truth. Therefore, they don't know. Their lives, they're constantly searching for this deep connection. Yet, they don't find it, but that need is still there. Yeah? So now, by default, because this love is there by default, guess what? Mr. Iblis, he capitalizes on this. He capitalizes on the fact that the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal has been made such. You know what he does? He essentially makes us live in delusion. And he makes us confuse the fact that this love has anything to do with obedience. You know, love and obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal are not the same thing. They are not connected. So, Iblis, what he does, he makes us believe because we are connected to Allah. You love Allah, you love Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. By default, he makes those that are not on the Siratul Mustaqim, he makes those believe that that love is enough to make them feel entitled for the rahmah and forgiveness of Allah Azza wa Jalla. You follow? Get what I'm saying? This applies really to everybody. You just have to consider the magnitude of your level of iman. You just have to understand wherever your level of iman is, this will attack you. This will attack you wherein subconsciously we will justify whatever disobedience we're committing, whatever acts of disobedience that we are doing, we will somehow subconsciously justify, I have a connection with Allah, I love Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I'm going to be forgiven, He's all merciful, Allahu Akbar. And that justification, my brothers and sisters in Islam, is something that Shaitan, Iblis, he capitalizes on, right? Because essentially, obedience has nothing to do with love. You know what the obedience requires? Obedience requires character. It requires a constant, conscious decision and action. That's what it requires. You have to be constantly conscious and take action to be obedient. So the obedience has nothing to do with love, yet Shaitan will make you feel otherwise. And you know where this is important? The fact that if you were trying to give advice to any Muslim brother or sister, maybe they may be a family member, a friend, someone you see that they're not quite fully aligned to the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and you want to give them the advice, they will automatically have this knee-jerk reaction. They will have this knee-jerk reaction and they'll become rebellious. Who are you to tell me how to correct myself? I love Allah, my relationship with Allah is between me and Allah Azza wa Jalla, and no one can interfere. You're absolutely right. No one can and no one has the right to inject themselves in this special, exclusive, vertical connection that you have with Allah Azza wa Jalla. No one. But you have to understand you're being deluded when you feel that you are entitled to forgiveness without rectification. Right? What happens is Shaitan makes the soul feel that they're entitled to the rahmah of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the forgiveness of Allah Azza wa Jalla without rectifying their bad behavior, without rectifying the fact that they are committing essentially all sorts of innovation in deen. And you know, this affects, who does this affect the most, my brothers and sisters in Islam? This affects those, remember last khutbah we primarily focused on helping and reaching our brothers and sisters in Islam who are borderline and to the left, right? This really impacts those who are borderline, who are not struggling on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, those who have not established a virtuous lifestyle according to the command of Allah Azza wa Jalla and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inna nafsa la-ammaratum bisu. This is what is stated in Surah Yusuf in ayah number 53. Or 52 or 53. Every soul, by default, in its raw format, every soul is inclined toward evil. It's inclined to incite evil. And you know what evil is? Evil, it applies to us. It's not just what anyone would define as evil in terms of someone murdering somebody. That's not what this evil is talking about. You know, babies are not evil. They are the purest of all creation of Allah Azza wa Jalla, right? This nafsul ammaratun bisu, this affects us all from childhood. For example, when you're a toddler, when you're a baby, what happens? The baby, essentially this means a remorseless nafs, right? A nafs that has no remorse. So a baby, a toddler, their desires, it's to eat sweet foods or anything that they can get their hand, anything that is not healthy they will want to eat, right? You know this. Any baby in your household, you give them broccoli without even touching, without even tasting it, they'll say yuck. They already know what it is, they don't want it. You put a donut in front of them, they will grab it. This is the nafs al-amarah. This is by default. It's inclining them toward the things that are bad for them, but they are remorseless because they don't know any better, right? And as adults, the adults that allow this nafs to continue to be unconstrained, to continue to be untrained, the nafs that is allowed to go and live and carry out its desires as it so desires, whatever it wishes, this is the nafs that remains remorseless, According to Hadith Sahih of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as narrated by one of the companions, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, you don't want to ever call the nafs as an evil nafs. This is not what we do. We say we have a remorseless nafs. A remorseless, because the nafs is untrained, it's remorseless. It'll go conduct acts of misdeeds, and then it will not feel any remorse about it. In contrast, you have the nafsul lawama, the middle nafs, the nafs that will go ahead and partake in the desires, but they will also feel the remorse. So they will try to reform themselves, right? And then you have the nafsul mutama'inna, which is the best of the three types of nafs, which is the nafs who is a righteous nafs, who actively struggles against their desires, their raw animalistic desires. Okay? So now, what is the effect? What is the true effect of this unconditioned nafs that we've been talking about over the past 2 weeks? The effect of this unconditioned nafs is what we see as a broad problem across the Muslim ummah at large, across the globe. Because what do we see happening, my brothers and sisters in Islam? What we see happening is, in effect, all that is haram has been normalized so much that a haram way of living is the average way of living. And then when you try to tell people about what is halal, about what Allah Azza said, that is considered extreme. Like when I talk about my brothers and sisters in Islam, don't go to social media and post beautified, attractive, alluring images of yourselves with the intention of attracting attention. Whether you admit it or not, when you partake in this, you are trying to attract attention towards yourself, which is defined as what? Your nafs, your desire, is trying to attract this attention. And what is this really doing, my brothers and sisters in Islam? You know what this is doing? The effect of this is that this has residual, perpetual impact. You have to be very, very careful about anything that we do negatively that has residual and perpetual impact. What does that mean? We were talking about the grave. We were talking about the truth of the grave, right? We were talking about what transpires as soon as the soul reaches the throat. When Malik al-Maut comes and the soul reaches the throat, there is no more forgiveness. That is halas, it's over. It's over for you at that point. So now, we talked about the punishment in the grave. We talked about how the grave by default is constructed for punishment. The only way to be reprieved from that punishment is to be prepared for the grave with your good deeds, with a way of living, with a lifestyle that is aligned perfectly to the Sirat al-Mustaqim, to have salawat 5 times a day. You know, nowadays, if you talk to the average Muslim family or the average Muslim person and you tell them you pray 5 times a day, or someone prays 5 times a day, they say, man, they are religious. Wow, mashallah, they're religious. That's extreme. That's not religious. You're just doing what you're supposed to do. Praying 5 times a day is religious? Allahu Akbar. That's quite funny, isn't it? There's nothing religious about it. That's just called being an obedient servant of Allah Azza. That's called being Muslim by its minimum definition. Right? So my brothers and sisters in Islam, when you do the evil things, again, evil is defined as following your nafs to doing things that are harmful for your soul. Harmful for your soul. These things are having a detrimental, perpetual impact. So in the grave, when you're looking to your good deeds to come and intervene for you against the default adab of the grave, and then you've established all these perpetual things. So when you post a provocative picture of yourself, an attractive, alluring picture of yourself that others are admiring, and you can tell yourself, you know, I'm only doing it for family, I'm only doing it for close friends. You know what? The grave is not going to care about that. They're going to do simple mathematics. The grave is designed to be orchestrated to do one thing and one thing only: punish. That's it. Okay? Munkar and Nakir, when they come down to question you, this is all according to Sahih Hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, my brothers and sisters in Islam. When the last person visiting you, when you get buried, when the last footsteps of the last person leaves, nakir and munkar come down. Before this, the adab has already started, and the only retrieval from this is what? If your good deeds come and block it, encapsulate you to defend you against that default adab. And the emphasis, Allah Azza wa Jal emphasizes this over and over and over again, because He wants us to be righteous. He wants us to be prepared. He wants us to condition ourselves to do righteous deeds and obey Him Azza wa Jal. It's not because Allah Azza wa Jal is trying to make us afraid and show how ruthless He is. No. Inna rahmati ghalabat adabi. Above the arsh of Allah Azza wa Jal, it's written, my rahmah will overshadow my wrath. Allahu Akbar. So my brothers and sisters in Islam, those that persist in this, the message is قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ الَّذِي وُكِّلَ بِكُمْ ثُمَّ إِلَى رَبِّكُمْ تُرْجَعُونَ. When Malakul Maut comes, he's going to take the soul. He's going to take the soul and go back to Allah right away. Right? And the soul at this point, when they get to Allah, وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الْمُجْرِمُونَ نَاكِسُوا رُؤُوسِهِمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ رَبَّنَا أَبَصَرْنَا وَسَمِعْنَا فَارْجِعْنَا نَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا إِنَّا مُوقِنُونَ. When the mujrimeen, Allah Azza wa Jal here does not say when the Muslim soul, when the kafir soul, when the mushrik soul. No, He says mujrimeen. The mujrimeen are the criminals, meaning the transgressors. Who are the criminals? The criminals, basically, you transgressed against yourself. Those who established bid'ah in their lifestyle, right? Because right nowadays, what's happening? We have a hybridization of religion, basically. The way of life has been hybridized to blend global social culture with religion. That's innovation. We justify all the haram, and we blend it. We say, my heart, I have a relationship with Allah in my heart. Yes, you do. It's been granted to you by default. Because I have that relation, again, that entitles me to do everything that the norm is doing. Right? So we have this hybridization of culture and religion. It doesn't work that way. That's not Islam, my brothers and sisters in Islam. That is something else. That is following your own desire. And you make yourself feel good to think, again, this is not you. This shaitan makes you live in this delusion where you think that, again, because you love Allah, you can establish whatever mode of religion you want and call it Islam. So my brothers and sisters in Islam, when the soul goes back and they say, Ya Allah, we see and we believe, send us back and we will do the righteous deeds. At this point it's too late. When the soul is God and they see Allah and they say this, right? وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الْمُجْرِمُونَ نَاكِسُوا رُؤُوسِهِمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ رَبَّنَا أَبَصَرْنَا وَسَمِعْنَا فَارْجِعْنَا نَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا إِنَّا مُوقِنُونَ. Send us back so we will do the good deeds. You know what the response will be? فَذُوقُوا بِمَا نَسِيتُمْ لِقَاءَ يَوْمِكُمْ هَذَا إِنَّا نَسِينَاكُمْ وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْخُلْدِ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Taste the punishment which you rejected because you didn't listen to all the warnings. Now go taste the punishment, go taste the adab of the fire. You know, if you open up the Quran, pick up the glorious Quran al-Majid. Go to any page, open randomly to any page. You cannot read but 2 or 3 ayat and you will be given a warning. Inna lil-kafir وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ. Allah Azza wa Jal, every several ayat, He's given us this warning. He's given us this warning. Taste the punishment of the fire for those who are disbelievers. You know, when you disbelieve, you're a disbeliever when you reject all of these commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. When you're establishing a life that is not centered around establishing salawat 5 times a day at a very minimum. You just have to pray 17 rak'ah every single day, my brothers and sisters in Islam. If you don't do that, you're disbelieving essentially. You're disbelieving in the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. You're disbelieving that saying, if you don't perform your salawat, our Creator is telling us how to live, what is good for us. We are pursuing everything in dunya for survival. What we don't realize, and we're looking for riches. You know, the nafs, according to Hadith Sahih, the nafs, the richness of the nafs comes from the richness of the soul. It doesn't come from the richness of the bank account. It doesn't come from the richness of the material wealth. Your soul is rich when you are connected to Allah Azza wa Jal, not the default connection that we are created with, but the active connection that comes from the constant obedience to Allah Azza wa Jal. And in sharp contrast to the warning, Allah Azza wa Jal also says, وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ جَنَّةُ الْمَأْوَى نُزُلًا بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ خَيْرُ الْبَرِيَّةِ. These are the ones who follow and establish the good righteous deeds. These are the best of the creation. Allah Azza wa Jal has immense reward established for us. So as Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the Jannah, He is mentioning the punishment, because we have to have this imperative, because those who are righteous, they shouldn't fear. أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ. This is what Malik al-Maut will tell the soul. The righteous soul, when he extracts him, don't be afraid and don't grieve, and rejoice in the paradise that's been promised to you. The same way as the grave is designed by default for punishment, right? You can be easily exempt from it. You can easily sidestep it. The way of life of Islam is so beautiful, it's so simple, my brothers and sisters in Islam. Ramadan is the best time. Ramadan is the best time for us to realize this and to go out of Ramadan reforming ourselves. Notice how more dedicated you are, the Muslims around the globe. Notice how much more dedicated everyone is in their worship. Notice that. The objective is to take that with us outside of Ramadan. Why is the masajid empty? And you know, even during the Ramadan, my brothers and sisters in Islam, you have the masajid full during the first couple of days of Taraweeh, of Isha. In the middle it's empty. Last 10 nights again it's full. Fajr is full. You know, the Jummah prayer should be as full as the Eid prayer. And the Isha prayer should be as full as the Jummah prayer. And the Fajr prayer should be as full as the Isha prayer. Allahu Akbar, my brothers and sisters in Islam, there is no excuse. The only excuse is that we just make excuses, and we let shayateen get to the best of us. All the shayateen, they come and they get the best of us, and as soon as Ramadan is done, it's as if a chapter is closed. We're done for the year. My brothers and sisters in Islam, we are supposed to be evolving every year of our life to get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal and follow the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وصلى الله عليه وسلم. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, you know, we have entered the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the last 10 days of Ramadan. Last night was the first odd night. I will remind you of this again. There is a surefire shortcut to coming out of Ramadan with 1,000 months, 83 years of accepted ibadah, insha'Allah. All you have to do is sincerely devote yourself, even if you can't stay up all night. We understand, everybody has work to do, we understand. But those that work, those that have jobs, those that are consumed in the affairs of the dunya, the ones that are dedicated, they are here for Fajr and Isha every single day of the year. Can you not do this for 10 days? Can you not do this for at least 4 more days to optimize your defenses in the grave? 4 more days. Come the odd nights, come Saturday night, then Monday night, come the next 4 days, come the 23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th, if you can, all the rest of the nights, so that insha'Allah you catch Laylatul Qadr insha'Allah, as long as it didn't pass yesterday. This is Hadith Sahih, my brothers and sisters in Islam. You pray Isha in congregation and Fajr in congregation is as if you have accepted ibadah for worshipping Allah Azza from the moment of Isha till the end of Fajr. Allahu Akbar. Why would you not go and pursue this? Why would you not want this for yourself? Because we are delusioned. We don't pay attention to the eternal reality that awaits us at any given moment. At any given moment. I ask Allah Azza to allow all those that are sincerely seeking the Laylatul Qadr, to earn the reward of Laylatul Qadr this year and every year thereafter in their entire lives. Allahu Akbar. Ameen. I ask Allah Azza to allow all of us to strengthen our nafs, to be among those with the nafs al-mutama'inna. Allahu Akbar. Ameen. And I ask Allah Azza to open our hearts and our ears and our souls to the truth, to the haqq, and to reform ourselves and to go out of Ramadan, to extract the greatest benefits of Ramadan and come out of Ramadan and live a life according to righteousness. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آله محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولانا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنه تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل ما وليت ولا يعز من أديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت وأقيم الصلاة.